It has been almost 3 months since the release of the absolute travesty that was the second season of Netflix's Devil May Cry. I made this video about it, which, to be fair, if you're watching me nowadays, you probably have seen this video already, and if you haven't, somehow, please go watch it. It's legitimately one of my best videos so far. However, this video is not supposed to be me shilling my own content. This video is supposed to take a look and sort of predict what's gonna happen with the next season of Devil May Cry. Specifically, Season 3. In case you weren't aware, right after Season 2 came out, I think it was like a week after or maybe even sooner, it was officially confirmed that the third season for Netflix's Devil May Cry was greenlit and that it was also going to be the final chapter. At the time, this was a surprise not only to me but to quite a few people who have been actively hating on DMC, because I don't remember the exact point, and maybe don't quote me on this because I could be wrong, but I swear that there was one interview or one post or something where Adi said he really wanted to keep Devil May Cry going and make it like a huge thing with multiple seasons. Hell, he might have even mentioned making a movie, though that could actually just be my imagination. But I swear he said something about multiple seasons. And I guarantee you that this being the final season and Netflix in some way cutting it short is 100% due to the reception that Netflix Devil May Cry has been getting over the past 2 seasons. Now, while it hasn't been entirely negative, I mean, if you ask almost anybody that is, just outside of the community and part of, the normal populace that usually just watches the random Netflix shit that will be put out every month, they will tell you that Netflix Devil May Cry was good, that they had fun with it, and that is overall the general consensus. I mean, if you were to take the general reviews at face value, you would think Netflix Devil May Cry is like the second coming of God, and that it overshadows the games, and it's the best anime ever to be put out, even though it's clearly just, normal corporate shilling, because this show, even at its best, is just okay. It's nothing special. In a weird way, I think that is also what makes it so popular with general audiences, though. It takes the idea of Devil May Cry, or not the idea of Devil May Cry, I guess. It takes what people think Devil May Cry is, and then it regurgitates it in a perfectly safe way for general audiences to consume, taking away all the subtlety, taking away all the smart writing, the good quotes, and just actually reusing most of the quotes from the game without their actual proper context. Anyways, let me not try to get too deep into the fucking hate rabbit hole again, because I have a whole almost 30-minute video for that, and I guarantee you can find way more hate in better places. What I actually wanted to tackle with this video is this notion that maybe Season 3 will actually be good. That maybe Adi will actually, listen. He will actually take into account the criticisms, the things he's done wrong with this season, and, overall communicate with the rest of the team working on the show, because obviously it's not just Adi himself. There's a whole team working behind this, and, change for the better. The reason I had this idea in the back of my mind is because obviously the first and second season were extremely, I guess not rushed, but you can tell they were worked on simultaneously. The fact that Season 2 of Devil May Cry was greenlit, I think even before the first season came out, before there was even a general audience rating, just tells you enough. But also the fact that, they came out so close to each other. There was barely any time. There was already a sneak peek for Season 2, I think a week after Season 1 ended. Or not ended, it's fucking Netflix. Everything is released at the same time. But you get what I mean. It's extremely clear that Season 1 and 2 were meant to be worked on simultaneously. Therefore, the criticism that most of the actual fans of DMC had for the show when Season 1 came out could not really be listened to when it came to the second season. That being said, though, I do have this theory that maybe a lot of Lady's lines were cut in Season 2, because there is a drastic, you can notice it pretty easily, that she swears a lot less in Season 2. I think in Season 1 it was like 80 times or something crazy like that, and then in Season 2 it's only like 5 or 6 times that I could tell. So I guarantee you there were a bunch of lines of her swearing that maybe they cut out and just let her be mute, or like made another character talk over her. Again, I have no evidence for that, I'm just saying it, but when it comes to the actual bigger criticisms, like about the story or how they handled Dante, and the fact that he's not even Dante, he's just fucking Deadpool with a Dante skin on, they couldn't address those criticisms. Therefore, we got a half-baked, half-shitted out season. So, the hope is that somehow, someway, Adi will have some kind of a mercy on the actual community of Devil May Cry and, take into account these criticisms and make Season 3 a better overall product. Now, is this an actual possibility? I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really believe it. I'm not that sure. Not because I don't think the team working on this is incapable of actually, making a good season of this show, but because of the state of affairs that things were left in on season 2. It was a shit show. No, not was. It is a shit show. Everybody is separated. Dante is half dead. Virgil is probably gonna get Nello Angelo'd by the start of this season, which I don't even know if they're gonna go down this route. It's gonna feel unearned. This whole show just has an issue with how they take big character aspects or big character moments and either misplace them entirely or just use them wrong. Point in case Arkham. Arkham just feels, it feels so stupid. Like, I get you can acknowledge the fact that most people will already know that Lady's father is Jester, but at the same time, you are writing this show in a way that it's 100% geared for people who do not know, who wouldn't know that. So why the hell would you even place this twist at the end of the season 2 and then make it like, oh my god, it's so important now that Lady has to go kill her father or whatever. The only real reason I could see as to why they decided to structure Jester this way is because they wanted to make it a similar structure to the games. Obviously, it's Devil May Cry 3 where Lady actually kills her dad and, where everything with Arkham happens. However, it doesn't work that way because the timelines are not aligned. The only reason this works this way in the games is because DMC3 is a prequel. It happens before DMC1. And even if you want to go with that structure of like, oh, the number of seasons actually follows the structure of the numbered games, it still doesn't make sense because DMC1 is also not the earliest in the timeline, which Season 1 is. I guess the only season you could argue that is doing this is Season 2 because it actually takes elements from Devil May Cry 2 and tries to make them work. The issue is, it also doesn't do that properly. Lucia, which is practically one of the most important parts of DMC2, is just not in Season 2. Instead, she was a cameo in Season 1 and then completely forgotten about instead of just using her clone for the rest of the season, which is just so utterly stupid. And again, it's just one of those things where it makes you question if it was even planned, even though it clearly was. It's just so messy. It's like, what were you even thinking? And going back to what I mentioned earlier, which is doing the Nello Angelo to Virgil, the reason I mention it is because we left off Virgil this season fighting Mundus. And I'm sorry, but there's no actual way Virgil wins this. There's just no way, especially in his current state. If he wins this, it's definitely just going to be a plot device to get Mundus out of the story, which will just make no sense to me. Because maybe it's just me, but I can see the season going down the route of actually trying to explore Sparta as a character. They had been teasing the fuck out of him this season, and by this season I mean Season 2, mentioning a lot about him trying to assassinate the character that the game's built up, saying that, oh, he didn't love Ava. So I see them taking this route of bringing Sparta back and either making him evil or actually making him good in the end, that, oh no, Mundus was actually lying, and, humans and devils can actually coexist, and, maybe even a devil may cry. And then the show ends and it's a happy ending and fucking Lady marries Dante and whatever. They could do a bunch of things with this. One thing I don't want to see is Nero. I do not want to see Nero. There is no logical reason as to why Nero would be born in this universe, because one thing is the original Devil May Cry timeline in which somehow Virgil laid pipe, which is not as unlikely as you might think. It's still pretty weird, considering how Virgil is as a character, but this Virgil, Netflix Virgil, he wouldn't do that in a million years unless he was, forced to, which I don't know if you want to add that into a show like Devil May Cry. I don't think that's really fitting here, and I hope they don't. I just hope Nero doesn't show up in this whatsoever. It also would not make sense because, Nero's voice actor is voicing Dante. It's just a bunch of bullshit just piled. Like, who made this burger? It was Adi. Adi made this burger. And I will never forgive him for making this fucking burger. Thankfully though, I don't think we'll ever actually see Nero in this show, due to this one, I guess you could call it explanation from Adi, where he unsuccessfully tries to convince me that somehow Devil May Cry having 3 seasons was always planned and this was always what he wanted to do. But what I do want to bring attention to is how he calls this the Force Edge saga. And in case you don't know, Force Edge is mainly Sparta's sword. Obviously, it ends up turning into the Devil Sword Sparta, but before that, it is his sword, which leads me to believe this is all a big trilogy, or the way he wants to phrase it, I guess, is that this is all a big trilogy that will conclude with Sparta. And, you know, knowing how the show has been so far, probably have a very sappy, happy ending where the family comes together and, you know, even a devil may cry. This is, in my opinion, the most likely outcome. I severely doubt, and especially with how we've seen Adi be, he is a very prideful man, or at least I think he is. He is very stuck in his ways. He is very egotistical and thinks everything he does is just so above everyone else, and he's just a visionary and an intellectual, and we are all stupids for not understanding his grand, magnificent vision for Devil May Cry that is 100% better than the games. So I do not think for a second he would ever stoop down to criticism and, you know, change his ways, no matter how hard Netflix presses him. I think he would even be more likely to leave the project and have to pivot on his ways. That being said, though, this is just a theory from my hand. We don't even have an official confirmation of the release date for Season 3. We don't have a sneak peek, which, again, fuels my belief that maybe they are actually working hard on this, and maybe they will actually change the bad stuff. That being said, that is just wishful thinking. There is no actual evidence to back up these claims, and unfortunately so. I hope it's good. I hope it somehow makes the journey that is watching this dog shit worth it, and in the end it does leave a decent taste in your mouth. What do you think, though? This is just a rant of me thinking about this random ass, you know, thought before going to sleep, but I know a lot of people don't agree with me exactly, so, you know, leave it in the comments. How do you feel about this? Do you think it will be trash? Do you think it will be good? Do you think it will be in between? Just say it. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. As always, I really appreciate every single one of you taking the time to watch, even if it's just 30 seconds. Just, it makes my day, and I'm glad I can make your day better if I am able to. So I hope you all have a great day, morning, night, afternoon, whatever. And yeah, thank you. Love you all.